Hey, welcome to MMS Channel 9, and this is The Edge Show. My name's Rick Claus. I'm here with an expert in the field of software-defined networking, and this is Greg Costanza.
Hi, Rick. Nice to be here today. I'm here to talk about software-defined networking. It's what we're really talking about today with System Center and Windows Server, and really we have the full stack built into Windows Server, and it's fully manageable by VMM. So.
Now, I know that I was watching the Twitter feed earlier on today from the keynote, and there's a lot of buzz and a lot of talk about this as being very, very cool. There's a very slick little demo to be able to move a machine with a single range of IP addresses that was proprietary to this one company, and they literally moved part of that over to another environment where they also had the same address and scheme. Would have been conflicts, but it was completely seamless. Nothing went down. That's in box and able to work with System Center and with Server 2012?
Yeah, I mean, the underlying technology of network virtualization is in the Windows Server platform. So that's enabled in Windows Server. VMM adds on top of that the ability to essentially manage that infrastructure and act as the control plane. So through VMM, you create these virtual networks. They get realized on Windows Server, and then VMM manages updating the policies. So whenever a new VM that connects to that network gets created and needs to talk to the other VM, we notify all the necessary hosts, create all the necessary policy in the platform so that these VMs can then migrate, regardless of what subnet the physical machine is on that the VM is residing on. We can still migrate that VM, it can retain its same address and keep its same address space.
Okay. Now, one of the things that came up, and I think we made an announcement about this today, but maybe you can just kind of very simply understand or explain this a little bit for me. This is something that is not proprietary to the way that we're doing this. We're doing this as a partnership with a larger industry organization. Like, is this special magic sauce that only Microsoft has that's being able to make this work? Can you kind of simplify this for me?
Yeah, so the implementation is in Windows Server, but it's really based on the technology for sending the packets encapsulated on the wire called NVGRE. That stands for Network Virtualization Generic Routing Encapsulation. Okay. So it's based on an existing standard called GRE that we basically used an unused field in that to extend it and make it a way to put network virtualization on the wire instead of the generic type of encapsulation that was used before.
Okay. So from a implementation perspective, it's in box, technologies are all there, it's lit up, and it's very much enhanced as far as being able to manage and work with seamlessly with when you involve SCVMM. What other pieces are involved? Like, how does a customer go off and start to use this now?
Yeah, so the virtual networks you create, these are essentially multi-tenant networks. So each network gets its own address space, it gets its own isolation from all the other tenants in the environment. So this is truly a virtual network. Okay. Now, there are real people, though, out there that need to get access to these networks. You know? I'm sure Microsoft Research is working on how to virtualize these people, but they haven't done that yet. So, so now we have real people that connect to physical networks, and those physical networks need to be able to route into the virtual network. So there's a critical component called a network virtualization gateway that gives you that ability to route between the physical space and the virtual space. Okay. And so there's a vendor here today at the show that is building one of those. The first vendor to ship one is Iron Networks. They're on the show floor. I have a demo here where I can actually show you the Iron Networks virtualization gateway in action.
So this is bringing the physical and the virtual together as far as the user experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of unique in the virtualization environment that you have to bridge the two. You know, a VM can live on its own, but you access that VM through a network, and you have to get to it through a physical network.
Good point. Actually, why don't you give me a shot here? Show me.
Yeah. So this right here is the VMM server. I have added to it, a number of nodes of a cluster. Okay. And I have in my virtual space. Oh, let me go back down to my fabric. So my fabric has all of my physical machines. And then if I look down here in my networking space, I have added this gateway, this NVGRE gateway. Yep. This gateway is made by Iron Networks, so it's their gateway, and that handles the encapsulation, decapsulation going in and out of the network. So if I look at my virtual space, up top I have a number of VM networks. So I have a blue network, green network, red network. So each one of these is its own isolated address space. So on the blue network, I have that connected to route out through the gateway. And then if I go down to a machine that's connected to that blue network, so I have blue 0, I can actually connect to that machine. I've already got it down here. And I can see that this address space, this machine has an address in that blue network, but it can still talk to machines that are on a physical network. So you can see this is talking to another subnet that's actually outside of the virtual world. And I can even use any standard protocol. So I could be running Exchange or Active Directory in the virtual network and have clients on the outside accessing into it. So I can do things like SMB shares. I can get to files. I can copy any random file. I copy this document onto my desktop. So I'm transferring files and packets to and from the network.
So literally, so far as anyone is concerned, physical or if they're a machine, it's complete seamless transition from one to the other, no matter where that machine exists, because of the SDN environment that's now running.
Yep, absolutely, and it's completely seamless to the application. The application and the guest OS doesn't know anything about that.
There's no special drivers, no special configurations. They simply have
it works on your
IP
existing physical infrastructure, and you don't need to update any of your switches. You don't need to update any of your physical adapters. Now, if you do update them with NVGRE acceleration in the hardware, then they'll go a little bit faster. But you don't have to do that. It's definitely not required.
Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to be starting to asking about, is with this translation that's going on, again, I'm simplifying this, with this translation that's going on, there has to be some level of performance hit or something along those lines that would be affecting going through that physical to virtual translation.
Yeah, I mean, there is a slight performance hit if you are not using accelerated hardware.
Okay.
So there is a slight performance hit,
but it works with all existing hardware.
Yep.
Or you can have the
and this gateway here, you can see we're pushing a fair amount of traffic through it. There is no NVGRE aware hardware in here. It's all based on Windows software and standard hardware.
And again, you keep on mentioning those lovely word standards. I love to hear that, because that means, again, it doesn't matter what your client is. It could be one of ours with a Windows product, or it could be even a Linux distribution. It could be anything. It simply is just using IP routing to go through.
Right. The guest doesn't know, and even the hardware that this is based on is so. Iron Networks also makes what's called the Iron Pod, which is an implementation of the fast track reference architecture that Microsoft defines.
Oh, okay.
So even the hardware is a standard architecture that's defined by Microsoft as well.
Okay. What are we seeing as far as customers that are interested in this kind of space? Like, what sort of types of workloads are they going to be running and going to be looking at this for?
So you can definitely see with the gateway, you can run Exchange, you can run Active Directory. A lot of the standard Microsoft workloads and even non-Microsoft workloads can run in a network that's routable. There's also a mode that these gateways can run in called a hybrid network. So this is where if a hoster implements network virtualization, they can offer a VPN endpoint so that their customers can create virtual networks in the hosted environment and connect back to their own on-premise data center that they own seamlessly using the same address space that they have on-premise.
And this is obviously, because we're talking about virtualized space, we're not bound by the same kind of restrictions that we would used to have if we're talking VLANs.
Exactly. VLANs, you're limited to 4,095.
And that's in the perfect world. Everything's all aligned and everything else. You never really get that many anyway.
Yeah, you have to manage them carefully, because as a tenant comes and goes, you have to recycle that VLAN. So there's a lot of heavy management involved in keeping those limited numbers of VLANs you have utilized. Where with network virtualization, I mean, you can have millions of VM networks running on your physical network, there's no conflict.
Now, how much level of integration do we have to have with the different levels of the administrators? If I have different hats that are on. So if I have the virtualization administrator and I've got the networking side of the house that maybe don't have great communications going back and forth, I'm assuming this is one of those areas they're going to have to start to collaborate an awful lot more on.
Yeah. Because the virtualized networks run on the regular physical network, they already have the collaboration on the physical network, right? You already have to create a physical network for your virtualized. For your virtualization today. If you're using VLANs, you have to have a physical network for those VLANs. It will simplify the life of the IT admin, because now they don't have, or the network admin, because now they don't have to be involved in the day-to-day tenant creation, deletion with the VLANs, right? So the network admin creates the fabric once, and that fabric stays fixed and doesn't change. But now tenants can come and go, and and the virtualization admin can manage these tenants and their creation of these virtual networks without involving the network admin at all. So once the network admin does the setup, they don't need to be involved at all, other than making sure they handle any hardware failures, but no real changes after that.
Definitely. Now, you said you had another possible second demo you wanted to show off?
Yeah, so this is one part of our software-defined networking strategy. So the other area that's new in Windows Server 2012 is virtual switch extensibility.
Okay,
so Windows Server has the ability to have multiple switch extensions added to the virtual switch.
And it's important to note it's an extension, it's not a replacement.
Right, exactly. You can have extensions for monitoring, you can have extensions for filtering, That means they can modify the packets and remove packets, and you can have extensions for forwarding. They can all live together on the switch and act together, and they also don't replace the native functionality of the switch. The switch is still there. You still have all the capabilities of the native switch. So what I have here to show you today is the Cisco Nexus 1000V beta, which they did a webinar on a few weeks ago. That's now available. So let me switch over to that one. So here I have the Nexus 1000V. It's added to my VMM server. Nexus 1000V has its own database of port profiles and networks that were created by the network admin. And so that Nexus 1000V, so one of the things that the Nexus 1000V enables, it enables us to import those networks and all of that configuration that the network admin did up front. We can bring that into VMM so that the virtualization admin doesn't have to manually type it in and cause errors.
Big time
like
saver,
that.
for sure.
Exactly. And so we refresh those in, so you see these networks that come from the Nexus 1000V. Here's a Cisco tenant network that we imported. We can actually go and import tenant networks from the Nexus 1000V and realize those and manage those as a pool so that the network admin creates them once using the tool they're familiar with, which is the Cisco iOS-based environment, and then we import them and let the virtualization admin basically just reuse and assign those out as needed.
Now, just out of curiosity, what's the level of uptake and interest in this kind of environment right now with both the extensible switch and also with software-defined networking? Is this something that people should be gearing up with and understanding now to be better prepared for what's coming down?
Yeah, I mean, it's all out there now. It's available now for everyone to use. Cisco is very involved in all of our other partners, right? Cisco isn't the only partner we have. We have partners with Five9 building firewall extension. We have Inmon building an S-Flow extension. So there are a variety of partners out there. It's all out there now, and so it's something all of our customers are going to have to learn about and start to adopt. And once they start to use network virtualization, they're going to start to realize what the advantages are. So.
I'm throwing this one out completely in the blue to you to see if you happen to know of any resources that might be able to draw people to be able to take a look at. Is there a blog they should possibly be checking out, or is there some hands-on labs or something like that they should be trying out?
So
prep you for that question.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely resources out there. If you want to learn about network virtualization, we have a variety of information on TechNet. You can look up to learn about the underlying technology in the platform. VMM has a number of document sections in TechNet that describe how to set it up through VMM. There are some blog posts out there as well. There's one by Nigel Kane and Damian Flynn that talks all about how to set up networking. It's a series of blog posts, and I don't believe that they've gotten to network virtualization yet, but that's going to be coming up soon as well. So there's definitely a blog post out there as well. And then Cisco did a webinar on their Nexus 1000V recently, so you can go watch that and learn about how they did their forwarding extension.
And you're saying that the webinar on the beta side of things, it's not, do we have time frame? Have they announced any sort of time frames for that as of yet for being final? Or
so
is
the
it
beta is available. Final's not out yet.
Okay.
I can't speak for Cisco's time frames,
no
but
worries.
it will be soon.
Yeah, I will. I'll make sure that going along with this, we normally have a bunch of different notes in the bottom, so I'll make sure that we list off those different blog posts and also some other stuff for the partners to take a look at as well. It'd be great.
Okay, sounds good.
Anything else you'd like to add as far as other information?
Yeah, so one other thing that you heard and saw in the keynote was Brad talking about the Open Daylight Consortium. So that's also another avenue that we have to contribute and be involved in the community, and you'll see that more coming from that in the future.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us. Really appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you.